Reckless, aggressive, and undisciplined.
This is a rebellion, isn't it? I rebel.
In 5 years, I will appreciate Rogue One a lot more than I do today. This is the first Star Wars movie with a major departure from the formula that viewers have come to expect from the franchise, and it's instantly noticeable. These major departures have both a positive and a negative impact on the movie as a whole. Throughout the film, you'll find yourself comfortable in the world of Star Wars for a moment, and then the movie will make it very aware that you're watching the creation of someone else with their own ideas. Now, watching this movie in the theater, I felt conflicted, as these new ideas were meddling with something that I've grown up with for years, and no doubt thousands, if not millions, of other people have as well. However, after a night or so to sleep on the matter, I came to the conclusion that some of my perceived flaws in the movie will become all too important in the coming years. And those who are diehard Star Wars fans are going to notice this instantly. The opening of the movie is drastically different than what you'd expect from anything else in the Star Wars universe. It delves straight into the frantic affairs rather than a slow crawl of subtext that appear throughout the series. There's a lack of screen wipes during scene changes, and that might sound like a small detail, but in the grand scheme of Star Wars movies, that's always been a staple, and it felt extremely jarring to go through a Star Wars movie without that. It's these small details that didn't feel familiar, which will have people annoyed or at least scratching their heads upon a first viewing. Also, Darth Vader makes a pun, and he should never, ever do that again. That being said, I appreciate the movie nonetheless. This movie isn't afraid to take risks, and I greatly respect that. While the previous filming decisions might seem a bit jarring, many of the other changes to the Star Wars formula feel like a welcome addition to the universe. The Rebel Alliance, for example, is shown to be something other than like an angelic being that's there to rid the galaxy of the big bad guys. You know, they make deals with extremists, they fight guerrilla wars, they hide within civilian populations. I love the expansion of ideals, and it even warrants the idea that some were even content or possibly happy with the Empire in comparison. The agents and main characters aren't necessarily the good guys, they're fighting for what they believe in. Many of them even fight for what the viewer may perceive as the wrong reasons but the right cause. There's so much in this movie that makes the conflict in the galaxy feel a lot more real than the main series ever has. The final battle in particular is magnificent from beginning to end. It felt like watching the Vietnam War in space, and that's about the best thing I could ever imagine. I could have had the entire movie be a story about some random soldiers on this battlefield, and it might have actually been a better film. Now, unfortunately, because of these highs of the third act, it makes the first two acts look very weak in comparison. The film has some major pacing issues, especially in the first act. Nothing quite seemed to flow properly, and getting all the information before the film moved along to the next thing was very difficult. It feels like the first portions of the movie were solely there to get towards the final act, and that inherently makes it less fun to experience as a whole. The film needed to improve on characterization and viewer emotion towards these main characters as well. It needed that relaxed moment for the characters to build who they were for each other so that you care when they go into the final stages of this movie. They never quite felt like they cared for each other, which in a movie about a squad of characters is really needed. Now, the best comparison to a movie that I think did that very well was Guardians of the Galaxy. The characters never had that moment of interaction like they did in Guardians that made them bond together through their exploits, which Guardians of the Galaxy pulled off with flying colors. Even in a movie like The Force Awakens, there were moments where it wasn't necessarily moving forward the main plot a whole lot, but it was getting the characters to become familiar with each other, familiar to the audience, and interact so that you cared about them when the plot was moving forward and when those big moments did happen. And this movie really needed that. It needed to put that exclamation point on the third act with that characterization. But that being said, I still believe that the third act is possibly the best battle scene that's ever been in a Star Wars movie, and it definitely serves as a high point for this film. So in summary, I enjoyed the hell out of Rogue One, despite some pacing issues and lack of character empathy. And if you didn't enjoy The Force Awakens because it felt like a retread of the original film, this will likely be a much more enjoyable affair for you. As a movie, it feels like a fresh take on the Star Wars universe. While that doesn't always work the way they intended it to, it sets up the ability for other directors and filmmakers in the future to do the same. I greatly respect that idea, and I look forward to see what comes next. What did you think about Rogue One? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you didn't, that's fine, give it a dislike. I am PattyJack, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a wonderful day.